Well, thanks again, Shaka. We received tremendous feedback in our STA inbox to this week's question. Thousands of delegates, protesters, and media are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this week for the Democratic National Convention. Hillary Clinton is set to accept the party's presidential nomination on Thursday and officially become the first ever female candidate for the White House. This leads us to our question of the week, which asks, what do you expect Hillary Clinton to say about Africa at the Democratic National Convention? Well, starting off the conversation is Manny Alcado Kasi with our letter of the week. Our letter of the week comes from Manny Alcado Kasi from Tanzania, who writes, I expect Hillary Clinton to say good things about Africa and to make various promises to Africa. But the problem has always been how to implement them. Exploitation is the only big agenda when it comes to Africa. I expect Clinton to be like other U.S. presidents, including President Barack Obama, who invest heavily on the continent, but they have never walked the real talk to make tremendous change in Africa. Well, thanks, Manny, for giving us that opinion. And before we continue, I'd like to thank all of you for using all our social media platforms to communicate with us. And another reminder that we are tweeting live today. Use the hashtag #VOADemConvention. And if you haven't yet, please do follow us at VOA Shaka. And speaking of, let's go to a tweet from Otega, who writes, still hypocritical policy, nothing will change. We have another tweet from Rego Herbert, who writes, she will embark on foreign policy ties between African countries and America and fight against terrorism. And our last tweet is from Martins, who tweets that the whole world will stop accepting stashed away funds from African leaders. The leaders mind their own business. Well, now let's move to a comment from Facebook fan Vincent Atuma from Nigeria, who writes, I expect Hillary Clinton to work closely with African governments to ensure the progress of democratic ideals that will bring about peace and economic transformation of the continent. Well, Shaka, our audience has given us a lot to think about. What do you say?
Very interesting indeed. Riva, it is all yours. Your reaction, please.
Reaction to the comments.
That is correct.
Yeah, so reaction to the comments. So last night at the Democratic Convention, there was a speaker who was involved in sexual trafficking. She talked about 3 years in California until she got the ability to break free and to leave. And I think what we're going to see at this convention is less a focus, unfortunately, on Africa and what Hillary Clinton will commit to Africa and more thematic focuses. And I think the thematic focus about stopping sexual trafficking, but also the emergence of women and of girls and the importance of education and saying that the right to education for a girl is a human right. I think that's what we can expect from Hillary Clinton. At the Republican convention, we heard nothing on Africa. And I think it was I think at the Republican convention, from what I understand, I'm not sure there's a policy advisor now for Donald Trump on Africa. Yeah, I was trying to do my homework today before I came on the show, knowing it was you. And I was trying to figure out if there's a policy person. I was on the phone all morning, and I was told not yet, that type of policy will be developed. And so it was not a priority to think about it before a convention. I think for Hillary Clinton, it's intuitive to her. She knows the continent as well as all of us. She's been traveling the continent probably, 3 decades. And so I think people know what to expect for her. The only other thing I'll share is that there's a nostalgia for George Bush on Africa. People love George Bush on Africa for what he did for PEPFAR, for the focus that he had. I think the difference on this election is that people know what they're going to get from Hillary Clinton. They know her commitment to poverty, development, democracy, women and girls, sexual trafficking, good governance. So we know that. She's a known person. We even can envision who she might put in the spot to sit over Africa. But with Donald Trump, there's great uncertainty. from my colleagues in Africa, of fear that the almost xenophobic policies could translate to some of the unwillingness to look at Africa as a partner and more as an area of concern.
Talking about Donald Trump, you said that you had actually to do your homework.
I did.
Knowing that you're going to be interacting with Shaka Sally.
I did.
What is that supposed to mean?
That means I knew that you're a tough interviewer. I know that you want information that has not yet come out. And I was trying to see if I could find, okay, who is Trump's foreign policy person who's going to be on Africa? And Shaka, I did not succeed on that point. But I think that what the comment I got was, it's coming. But just getting back to, and I'm sure all of us have conversations on the continent, but there is a fear and a concern because Obama has been looking at Africa as a partner. We have Power Africa, entrepreneurship, trade, Feed the Future. We see Africa as an opportunity. There's a fear that Trump's people could see it as a place where bad things could come to the U.S.
Unfortunately, the time happens not to be our best ally.
Okay.
We have to go to Ayen. Ayen, any more reaction from the audience, please?
Absolutely. In fact, let's go to another comment from a Facebook fan, Calvin Kafoja from Malawi, who writes, Hillary Clinton will only continue the good work that she and her husband have already started here in Africa. They already have a foundation here in Malawi, and we love her. And our last Facebook comment comes from Johnson Tendeka Bakas from Uganda, who writes, U.S. policy for Africa is the same, whether it is implemented by a Republican or a Democrat. These speeches by Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are the usual political rhetoric. Well, Shaka, two very different but very interesting comments here. What's